All right, while many countries have taken a hit because of COVID-19, India has had a mixed bag of experiences. Now, some have criticized the lockdown measure imposed on the country's population of some 1.3 billion just a few weeks ago, forcing migrant laborers to travel back home on foot. India has been reporting low numbers, though, which some say has to do with factors ranging from the climate to relatively little testing happening. But on Monday, a record high number of new cases were reported. Now, one Indian state looks like the mirror opposite of the rest of the country, and that is the southwestern state of Kerala, where the slogan "Break the Chain" has helped mobilize the population to flatten the curve. So joining us to discuss this important topic is historian and author Vijay Prashad. Vijay, thank you for being with us. So Kerala doesn't have nearly as many new cases per day compared to other Indian states. You wrote that it has much to do with its left-wing government and civil society organizations mobilizing the masses of volunteers to help make hand sanitizer and face coverings, cleaning public facilities, etc. Does it look like the Modi government may be willing to take a page from Kerala's example here?
Well, nice to be with you. The first thing to say is that Kerala is a state of 35 million people, 17 million women. Of the 17 million women, 4.5 million of them are members of a cooperative called Kudumbushri. It's an extraordinary state because people are organized into trade unions, women's organizations, cooperatives of all kinds. And when the first news came from Wuhan of the possibility of some kind of virus, the health minister, K.K. Shalja, immediately went into action. You know, she is a science-based person, not a fantasy-based politician, and her science-based, evidence-based thinking led her to call upon public groups to act, very swiftly. The state went into action, public groups went into action, they built sinks at bus stations, they created hand sanitizer, they made masks, a variety of things. A combination of swift state action and an amazing public kind of awareness really helped keep, the number of infections low, the number of people who died very low.
And Vijay, on the day that Narendra Modi announced a partial curfew, the Kerala government announced a $270 million relief package that included free food, loans to families through the state's women's cooperative that you just mentioned, 2 months of pension payments, and even suspending loan and utility payments among some of the other incentives happening in Kerala. So what kind of lessons do you think the United States and perhaps even other countries can take away from the state of Kerala?
Frankly, I don't want to beat around the bush here. The government of Kerala is a communist government, and their principal priority was the well-being of the people. So whereas the government of India very callously, with no notice, essentially told millions of migrant workers, walk home. You are daily breadwinners. We don't really have any policy for you. We're not going to do anything on your behalf. That was the attitude of the Indian government. The government of Kerala, left-wing government, had a completely different attitude. The principal issue was, how do we care for people? And because of that, it did very simple things, things that should have been done by any decent, sensitive government. For instance, in every single local self-governing municipality, it created community kitchens so that people who are going to have a hard time buying food could just come there and pick up food, or the youth movement in the state would deliver food to people's homes. I mean, there's a sensitivity in these left-wing governments that I really want to underline.
Yeah, it sounds like they really care about each other as neighbors there, the way people should be, the humanitarian angle of this. And lastly, Vijay, how would you compare Kerala's experience to this pandemic versus the rest of the country, where Modi's government has issued, very harsh lockdowns and has done, what people would criticize as very limited measures in curbing the outbreak?
You see, it's important for people to understand that in India, unlike China, 1.5 billion people, almost half the population is a day away from starvation. This is very different from China, where nutritional intake is much higher. So in India, a government that does a lockdown must really create policies to alleviate famine and hunger. The Modi government has done nothing. And I'm very, very worried that we're going to have famine-like situations in India. We'll have food riots. The situation is only going to get worse because this government, the Modi government, is callous towards very simple things like the need of people to be able to eat a meal or two meals or, 3 meals per day. We look at Kerala and see that the government's first policy after contact tracing and so on was food.
All right. Unfortunately, we have to leave it right there. Vijay Prashad, thank you so much for sharing the insight on Kerala today.
Thanks a lot.